What's up, guys? It's Picanha time. Welcome to episode 7 of BBQ with Birk. Today, I'm going to teach you guys how to do a picanha roast. So picanha is otherwise known as a sirloin cap. So usually you get them cut as steaks, or it's very popular in Brazilian culture to do it as a whole roast. Now, usually they grill it on an open fire. We're going to go do it out on the grill. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to show you guys how to clean it up, how to prep it, and I'm going to stuff it. We're going to put some great mozzarella and some spicy Capicola inside. So this guy predominantly is done just by itself. You do a little rub on top, maybe some garlic, things like that. But I like to stuff it. It's a super simple, super easy roast, and it's not very expensive on the budget. So this is about a 3-pound roast, and it cost me about 30 bucks. So $10 a pound, not breaking the bank for anything, and you're gonna get super delicious flavor. So the sirloin cap is on top of the top sirloin. It comes from top sirloin. Your picanha sits around here. All right, so first things first, what we're gonna do is we're gonna clean up the cut here. There's a little bit of silver skin. You wanna make sure you take that off. It will cook out at a certain temperature, but I find that if it doesn't, it ends up becoming chewy and then it's not appetizing for your guests. So this side's all pretty much cleaned up, and then we wanna leave a lot of the fat on this. The reason why is because when you cook it with the fat side up, it'll render down into the meat. Now, only a certain amount is going to render, so there still will be a little fat left over, but that's okay. You can just cut it off. But what we want to do is we want to cut off the extremely excessive fat. Perfect. And then we're going to score the fat. That way the seasoning sits inside the fat a lot better, and it can render easier as opposed to one solid mass. So about every inch, score it. Inch and a half, doesn't really matter. Cool, so just like that, it's all nice and scored. That's really gonna let that seasoning sit in. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna pocket it. So I like pocketing from the small side because it's nice and fat. So I'm gonna break through that and it'll make it easier to be able to cook through. Now it's a nice thin roast, so it'll cook quick. It's probably about 15-20 minutes a pound on this guy because it's so thin. That's also why I love this roast, because it's not a super thick roast. It's gonna take a long time. You can put it on the barbecue and it'll be ready super fast for you. So I'm gonna pocket it right through the middle of this meaty part. And I'm gonna go probably 3/4 of the way through, at least half. You wanna make sure that the stuffing's right in there. If it's too close to the end, if the pocket's not big enough, what all that cheese and meat will do is actually push out while it's cooking, and you don't want all your cheese melting out on your grill. It makes a mess and you're losing all that good flavor. So take the tip of your knife, push it through, be very careful you don't stab yourself. All right, so that pocket is, leave a little space on the other side, otherwise it'll tear right open, but that pocket is good and in there, ready to stuff. Ready to stuff with meat and cheese. Right, now we're gonna season this guy, then we'll stuff it. First, garlic, salt, pepper, paprika, cayenne, rosemary, and thyme. All right, now we want to take all the seasoning and we want to coat the roast with it. And we're going to rub it in. Next, what we're going to stuff it with is some spicy Capicola. So you can get this at any deli shop. You don't have to use Capicola. I like to. You can also use like a prosciutto, a salami, whatever flavor you want to do. I prefer to do a pork because I find it's a nice fat to add and a nice flavor to add to the meat as a juxtaposition. And then for a cheese, I prefer to go with mozzarella. You want to pick a cheese that melts well. Other hard cheeses are probably not a good option because they're not going to melt inside, and you'll just have still a solid or a semi-solid cheese inside. It's not the worst thing in the world, but I prefer to have it melt a little bit, then that way you get that real gooey flavor on the inside. So super simple. Just cut a couple of slabs out of this guy. Now this is a pizza mozzarella. I cut, I don't know, 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch slabs. Just cut enough because you want to make sure you layer the inside of that roast. All right. 4 big pieces should do it, and I like to go meat, cheese, meat, cheese, meat, cheese. And cheese. And why not a little bit more meat? Perfect. So this guy is stuffed full. So again, you want this guy sitting at around room temperature. You don't want to cook a cold roast because the internal temperature is going to be that much harder to bring up. So leave that guy out now that he's seasoned. Let it sit for a little while. Go start up the barbecue. Once that gets up to temperature, we're going to start nice and hot. We're going to sear that fat side first, then we'll flip it over. The reason why we're going to do that is we're going to sear the fat and help it render quickly, so when we flip it over, that juice and the moisture from the fat will actually seep into your roast and make it super moist. That way you're not going to have a dry roast, not going to disappoint nobody. The cheese is also going to help with that. All right, guys, go start that barbecue. Let's kick it. All right, guys, we are outside. The barbecue is smoking hot, hotter than a hoochie coochie. We are going to sear that fat side, and then we're going to flip it over and let that go on a medium heat around 350. You're planning for about 15 minutes, 15-20 minutes per pound. Then you're going to pull it off and let that guy rest. So this is smoking hot around 400, 450. We're going to open it up. Now we've already started our potatoes because this roast is probably only going to take us 45 minutes to an hour. The potatoes I want to cook around 45 minutes. So here we go. Ready for the sizzle. Oh yeah. So let that guy sear on that high heat. Sear for a couple of seconds to a minute here. There's a lot of fat. You want to start rendering on that. All right, now we're going to turn this down and flip it over. All right, so it's flipped over. We're going to close that lid, check on it probably in about another half an hour, and we'll do a temperature check. It's smoking hot outside right now, so this barbecue is probably going to cook at a hotter temperature than it normally does. Make sure your dials are turned down so that you have a medium heat. You don't want it to get too hot or you'll actually burn the crap out of it. See you guys in a bit. Oh yeah. All right, guys, we are at 140. Time to pull that off the barbecue. Let it sit for about 5 minutes. It'll bring up to about 145. You don't want to overcook it. It's very easy to get an inaccurate read when you have something that's stuffed, so you want to make sure you get it in the right spot and that you're not just hitting your cheese, because your cheese is going to be way hotter than the rest of the roast. This guy is good to come off. Such good color on it. That fat really rendered. Came down awesome. Look at this bad boy. Cheese gooing out of it. Nice and crispy. All right, these potatoes are done. Let's go eat. Thanks again, guys, for tuning in. Episode 7. This one has been one of my favorites because I cannot wait to get into this picanha. So enjoy that sunshine. Enjoy the roast. See you guys next week.